Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week with a creator request where we check out a smaller artist. Today we're going to be looking at a South Florida band called Strange New World. Something interesting I saw in their email is that they're going for a vintage sound, not just recording in-house on a vintage tape reel-to-reel, but also being produced on a 1973 Nev 8048 console. That is certainly dedication to, presumably, the sound they're going for. Let's dive in though. The track we're going to be looking at is Still Life. Let's see how well they capture this older magic. Let's dive in. Really nice spatial elements on this right off the bat. There's certainly a core guitar sound here, but it spreads out too.
At times like these I feel so narrow in my head, yet searching for answers that are lost inside of me. But I think it's okay, my thoughts have come this way. I tell myself it feels like must get on by, so long as I don't fight with who I am.
Interesting harmonic movements. Yeah. There was more instability on the third line than I was expecting, and it ends with uncertainty on the fourth line. I like the new instrument over here, the piano. A little bit more snare presence on the drum now.
I slow myself and watch my mind guide on. I found the stillness in this life.
Really hanging on to tension there. Oh, the bends.
Simple as I regain my mind. I trust in life and strangers. It's good to be alive. Ascending through the noise, I grow the peace inside and I say it's okay. These thoughts have come to play. I watch them waver as they fade into the light.
There's so much positivity and hope here.
My mind guide on. I found the stillness in this life.
And then that uncertainty. Very interesting direction for the chorus to go. All right. Pretty straightforward track there. We got the chord progression on the guitar and the vocal melody on top of that. We seem to have a general melody for the verse that differs from the general melody on the chorus. We do have some chordal changes in the chorus as well, as I pointed out there. The way that the chorus emotion and atmosphere is a bit different from what the verse is doing, and a bit different from where I would expect the chords to be at, and the sorts of resolutions we have across the chorus. Alongside that, we do have very, very light drum work, very light piano work. They seem to appear primarily in the chorus. And then we have our guitar solo. So a pretty straightforward song. Most of it just does its thing. Very fundamental instrumentation here. more of supporting the vocals than adding extra musical or melodic ideas. It builds out the foundation, sets the scene, and allows the vocals to be in the spotlight for the pretty much the entire run of the track. This lines up with a lot of, I guess you would call this folk rock. We've heard this style of composition several times within the genre, but I think what's really interesting about this one is to bring it into the production area, the warmth of this. And I find this to be a really interesting part of it. I don't know if I would have brought this up if I hadn't of been told it was recorded on older equipment, but it's a detail that you can't miss once you know. Especially when I listened to the solo guitar. That's really the part that I'm sure even without the knowledge, I'd been like, oh, dude, this feels a bit older. There's something warm and fuzzy and a bit muted on the guitar tone that I think if this was done digitally with modern tools, that guitar would have been more present in the mix. But it ends up working really well. The atmosphere on this has elements of nostalgia to it, but also elements of uncertainty of the future. I don't necessarily think it has a foot stuck in the past, but it certainly feels like it has at least a minor focus on where we came from and how that's influencing where we're going and tying into the certainty. This is the way things have been, and here's how things are now, and I can't use my past to indicate where the future is going. It's kind of what the music tells me the story is here. And I think that this idea of incorporating time into the music, or at least the sense of certainty versus uncertainty, it plays well with the general tone of the guitar, which feels very grounded and rooted against the more ethereal vocals. There is a brightness and a lack of gravity, not a lot of a lack of gravity, but enough to differentiate itself from the vocals. And this gives us a nice schism here between the earthier, grounded guitar tone and the more lifted, lighter vocal work. And it pairs against this general theming that I have with the chord progression, which is certainty, calm, and happiness versus uncertainty and anxiety. And I think it all comes together really well with the production of it all. There is just, I mean, like I mentioned, the guitar is where it stood out to me the most, but it's present even at the beginning. Right from the start, you can feel this warmth. It isn't cold digital. And I don't say that to imply that digital recording is bad in any way, but there's certainly different timbres and colorings to different techniques and production styles. And I think that this one, kind of going for the sound and story that I'm getting out of the music, having this warmth is really good. And now you can achieve that warmth digitally too. But it's really easy to get that if you're using the traditional equipment and production methods. And they went that route, and I think it paid off for them. And I'm kind of a big fan of it. I think it elevates this track. I don't think that it elevates it in a way that if you're not a fan of it, it will make you a fan. But I think that it takes the artistic components of this song and elevates that. It allows the song to hone in on these emotions in a sharper, stronger way than with a different production style, where the music is still going to indicate it. It's just not going to resonate that way with the timbre and coloring of all of the instrumentation. Now, there's one other thing that really stands out to me, and it has to do with the vocals. Some of it is with the vocal delivery, which has a wistfulness to it. And I think even before we got to the chorus, sort of the breathiness of it indicates an inability to keep up, maybe. But there's a rapid delivery to the vocals as well. The melody that the vocals sing is pretty fast. There's not really any breaks to hold a note out. And all of this paired with the feeling of uncertainty of the future is still what I get out of that. It tells me of someone who is barely keeping up with stuff, and they feel rushed and anxious because of that. And that doesn't help with any of this tension or uncertainty in front of them. And it's the production of the sound mixed with the rhythmic cadence of the vocals of the lyrics themselves that I think pair together to really sell this idea. And I think that's what makes the guitar so interesting too, because the guitar comes in and immediately starts holding out notes. Well, I think it was like 5 notes in, we got that really cool bend, taking the note and tweaking it up a little bit, kind of sliding into that note. We don't get any of that with the vocals. The vocals are really rapidly delivered with not any focus on legato sounds, with no focus on holding notes out and existing in the moment. It's all about getting to that next syllable. And it makes me wonder if the guitar being more rooted and grounded and taking its time isn't more about maybe what the protagonist of this story, song, however you want to look at it, if that's not their goal, what they wish they could be like in an optimized way of living. And instead, that's not them. And I think that's why we come back to the quicker delivery coming out of the guitar solo into the third verse and chorus. It's interesting how many details are in here because, like I mentioned at the beginning, compositionally, this is pretty static. There's the guitar, it's doing its chords, and then some ornamental ideas pop in now and then, but it's a pretty straightforward song, and yet there's still a lot of musical depth to it. There's a lot of thematic writing that went into this, from layering to juxtaposition to production and sonic composition. It's deeper than it appeared on the surface, and I love music like that, where I can look at the sheet music and I'm like, oh, this is pretty simple. You know, I could probably learn to cover this in less than a day. And then you listen to it though, and you're like, whoa, but there's so much passion and emotion put into the performance itself. And I love music like that. Let me check out some lyrics for this, and then we're going to wrap this video up. Well, I'd say I was spot on some things and not on others. The verses certainly speak about an insecurity or maybe a worry or concern about where things are now and where they are going to go. The first verse starts off with, "Sometimes I feel I'm just a shadow of my yesterdays." Verse 2 kicks off and says, "And other times I feel so far behind where I should be." Definitely feeling insecure about the moment. There's other elements in here that kind of lean into this. At times, I feel so narrow in my head again, searching for answers that are lost inside of me. I really like this line in verse 2. It says, "I'm caught between the roads in front of me, holding back on life, I burn another day." And dude, I love this line. I think part of it is just that it's, for me at least, really easy to relate to this idea of procrastination, because making a decision feels fairly permanent. I'm not too hesitant about delaying simple ideas. In fact, I am a pretty good decision maker, but the problem is when I have two paths that seem exclusive to each other, and going down one pretty much negates the other permanently, or at least for a very long amount of time. Is this really the path I want to go down? Is this really the decision I want to make? So I put it on the back burner. Future Bryan can take care of that. Future Bryan ends up in the same paralysis though. Yeah, dude. And the way that it's worded, caught between the roads in front of me, holding back on life, I burn another day. The idea of this, time being finite, not having infinite amount of that resource to make these decisions, and still saying that putting it off is better in this moment. Yeah, I resonate with that really hard. More than I care. Well, I'm admitting. I was going to say more than I care to admit. I'm admitting it pretty strongly right here. But the choruses bring a little bit of light to all of this worry. Chorus 1 says, and this is interesting too, is that every chorus has its own mix of lines. They're all unique with familiar motifs in them. Chorus 1 says, I think it's okay though that these thoughts have come this way, and I tell myself what feels like lies to get on by. So long as I don't fight with who I am, some things are bound to turn out right. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes we just need a little motivation, even if it isn't totally legit and true, if it gets us to make some decisions, as long as it doesn't create internal strife. Because we have enough external, I was going to say contrast, we have enough external negativity and friction. We don't need internal conflict too. It says, as long as I'm staying true to who I am, things are going to be how they need to be. And I really like that way, that view on life. Things are just going to be good as long as you're true to yourself. It's a nice little silver lining on things that keeps even heavy decisions feeling fairly light. Chorus 2 says that, again, it's okay, these thoughts have come this way. I watch them waver as they fade into the light. I slow myself and watch my mind get on. I found the stillness in this life. And I think this is interesting because it particularly brings up something I mentioned, which is a feeling of being rushed. I did skip a line in verse 1 I wanted to bring up now. It says, sometimes my breath is so shallow I neglect to breathe. That you're feeling like there's just no way to keep up with everything. That you're out of breath, so much so, metaphorically, to the point that taking a breath doesn't really do anything. You're not actually getting oxygen into your body. It's basically a worthless breath. That's how out of breath you are. A bit hyperbolic, sure, but absolutely sells the feeling. And here, at the end of the chorus 2, I slow myself and watch my mind get on. I found the stillness in this life. This is about calming down. Forgetting about all the external garbage and just taking in the moment. And this is where the guitar solo jumps in. Absolutely beautiful. Now, I did mention that I didn't get everything right on my musical read, and that's because the verse 3 and chorus 3 that come in after the solo, they don't return back to a more chaotic focus, at least not lyrically. Musically, I do find that those melodies are faster paced, still returning back to the melodic qualities of verses 1 and 2, but lyrically we are refocusing things and taking this stillness and meditation and using it to influence future decision making. It says, I let the water settle, watch the air flow by. I keep things pretty simple as I regain my mind. I trust in life and strangers. It's good to be alive. Ascending through the noise, I grow the peace inside. If outside is going to be noise and friction, I keep what's inside, what I have control over, calm and peaceful. Chorus 3 says exactly what chorus 2 says, which is about being still, finding that calm and appreciating life in this moment. I love how it takes a variation on the first chorus and expands it from an outside control into an inside control and focuses on that. Basically, the song says life can get pretty hectic, but I keep myself centered and I keep myself true, and that makes life good. And you know what? I can get behind that message like 300%. I love it. And I think the song does a great job of this too, because despite the more energetic vocal melody, if you pay attention to just the guitar chords through most of this and the light drumming and the light piano stuff, it's a very soothing song. It has tension and darkness at times, but overall rather soothing and calming. And I think that's what this song is really focusing on. That things can get heavy and gloomy and chaotic at times, but it's really just a moment within the larger piece as long as you can find that center within yourself. And yeah, dude, I'm sold on this. I'm gonna have to go check out the other tracks from this group, Strange New World. And this is I think this is their debut EP, if I remember that correctly. It's just a new LP called Escape. 6 tracks on it. I'm gonna have to check it out. And I'm gonna have links for them in the description as well. If you enjoyed this and want to find more of their works, I'll have their Bandcamp and YouTube, Spotify, social medias, whatever I can find. Anything that'll help you connect with them and their music, that stuff will be in the description box below. That wraps this up, though. These are my thoughts on Still Life from Strange New World. What did you think? Did you enjoy this? Is there anything in here that stood out to you, or maybe something you'd like to correct me on if I misspoke? Let me know. Put all that stuff and anything else you would like to add into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, alongside links for Strange New World, you'll find a link to my link tree that takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. If you head on over to any of their social media places, be sure to like, subscribe, heart, thumbs up, whatever they do. Show them some love from the Critical Reactions community. It's going to wrap it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. As usual, we're going to check out a full album. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.